The Recovery Kernel. Substance-Specific Navigation Series. How to recover from cocaine. Using the Recovery Kernel Framework. Cocaine, crack cocaine, freebase, coke, snow, rock, benzoylecgonine. Warning: harm reduction resource, not medical advice. Crisis, call 911 or text 988. Cocaine causes heart attacks and strokes, in people of all ages. Chest pain during or after cocaine use is a cardiac emergency. Call 911 immediately. A note before you begin. Cocaine is the drug the compendium was partly written in the shadow of. The warrior constitution, the val/val COMT brain that runs flat at baseline, that needs intensity to feel alive, that finds in cocaine the exact dopamine signal its rapid clearing enzyme perpetually denies it. Cocaine is the warrior's drug of choice above almost any other. This is not a metaphor. The compendium states it directly: the warrior constitution is drawn to stimulants, cocaine, methamphetamine, high-dose caffeine, and to behavioral stimulation, gambling, risk-taking, extreme sports, sexual novelty. The substance floods the system with dopamine faster than even the fast COMT can clear it, producing the experience of aliveness the baseline state does not provide. Understanding this is not an excuse. It is the diagnostic foundation of everything that follows. The cocaine did not create a brain deficiency. It exploited one that already existed. Recovery is rebuilding the intensity architecture without the substance, a life calibrated to the warrior's actual neurobiological requirements, through means that do not risk cardiac arrest at age 32. Cocaine is architecturally different from methamphetamine in ways that change the recovery approach. Where meth forces dopamine release by reversing transporters, cocaine blocks dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine reuptake simultaneously, the triple reuptake inhibition that produces cocaine's distinctive character. This triple mechanism means the serotonin system is also disrupted alongside dopamine, and the norepinephrine surge is what drives cocaine's cardiovascular danger. The recovery addresses all three. And there is the adulteration crisis that no cocaine guide should omit. The majority of cocaine in the current supply is cut with levamisole, a veterinary deworming agent that depletes white blood cells and can be fatal. This is not a theoretical risk. It is documented, prevalent, and underrecognized. It gets its own section in this guide. Section 0, Immediate Safety, read this first. Warning: cocaine causes myocardial infarction, heart attack, and stroke in young, healthy people with no pre-existing cardiac history. If you have chest pain, jaw pain, left arm pain, shortness of breath, or sudden severe headache during or after cocaine use, call 911 immediately. Do not wait. The cardiac emergency. Classical building: the centurion, the kill mechanism that is unique to cocaine among all stimulants. Cocaine produces cardiovascular events through three simultaneous mechanisms that combine to create a cardiac risk profile unlike any other commonly used substance. Warning: cocaine plus alcohol equals cocaethylene. The combination is more cardiotoxic than either alone and is responsible for a significant proportion of cocaine deaths. Never combine. When cocaine and alcohol are used together, the liver produces cocaethylene, a metabolite that has a longer half-life than cocaine, greater cardiac toxicity, and greater lethality than either substance alone. The common practice of using alcohol alongside cocaine to smooth the edge creates a compound more dangerous than either substance. This is not theoretical pharmacology, it is the mechanism behind a significant proportion of cocaine-related deaths. Overdose recognition and response. Chest pain, tightness, or pressure, cardiac emergency. Call 911. Do not assume it is anxiety. Jaw pain or left arm pain, cardiac emergency. Call 911 immediately. Sudden severe headache, possible hemorrhagic stroke. Call 911 immediately. Confusion, slurred speech, facial drooping, arm weakness, stroke. Call 911 immediately. Seizure, cocaine-induced seizure is a medical emergency. Call 911. Place person in recovery position. Hyperthermia, body temperature above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, cooling measures immediately, ice packs to neck, armpits, groin, and 911. Extreme agitation, paranoia, or psychosis, cocaine-induced psychosis. Remove from stimulating environment. Call 911 if violence risk or if person cannot be kept safe. There is no reversal agent for cocaine overdose equivalent to naloxone for opioids. Treatment is supportive, managing the cardiac, neurological, and temperature consequences while the cocaine clears. Time and supportive care are the treatment. The levamisole crisis, the adulterant nobody talks about. Classical building the centurion, the majority of cocaine in the current supply contains a veterinary drug that destroys white blood cells. Levamisole is an anthelmintic, deworming, medication used in veterinary medicine. It has been detected in the majority of cocaine samples tested in the United States and Europe for over a decade. The reason it is added to cocaine is not well understood. It may enhance cocaine's effects through dopaminergic mechanisms or may simply be a bulking agent from cocaine paste processing. The danger: levamisole causes agranulocytosis, the depletion or destruction of white blood cells, neutrophils specifically. Without neutrophils, the immune system cannot fight bacterial infection. Agranulocytosis from levamisole-contaminated cocaine can be life-threatening. Warning signs of levamisole-induced agranulocytosis: fever, mouth sores, severe sore throat, or unusual susceptibility to infections. If you use cocaine and develop any of these symptoms, go to an emergency department immediately and tell them you use cocaine. A simple blood test, CBC, will reveal agranulocytosis. It is treatable if caught early and cocaine is stopped. Levamisole is present in an estimated 70 to 80% of cocaine supply in the United States. Agranulocytosis occurs in approximately 3 to 8% of people exposed to levamisole, a significant proportion. Symptoms typically appear 1 to 3 weeks after exposure and may be mistaken for ordinary illness. Treatment: stop cocaine immediately and eliminate levamisole exposure. The agranulocytosis typically reverses within 2 to 3 weeks of cessation. Severe cases require hospitalization and granulocyte colony stimulating factor, GCSF, treatment. Fentanyl test strips do not detect levamisole. There is currently no widely accessible consumer test for levamisole. The only reliable protection is knowing it is present in most cocaine and monitoring for symptoms. Section 1: What cocaine did to your brain. Classical building the centurion, the triple block that lit up the warrior brain. Cocaine is a triple reuptake inhibitor. It simultaneously blocks the dopamine transporter, DAT, the serotonin transporter, SERT, and the norepinephrine transporter, NET. This is what distinguishes it mechanistically from methamphetamine, which primarily forces dopamine release. Cocaine does not force release, it prevents reuptake, allowing dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine to accumulate in the synapse and continue signaling long after they normally would. The result is a simultaneous and intense surge in all three monoamine systems, producing the distinctive cocaine experience: intense euphoria and aliveness, dopamine, social warmth and confidence, serotonin, energy and alertness, norepinephrine. The triple hit is cocaine's signature. And it is why the crash from cocaine is often more brutal and more complete than from any single system stimulant. The three systems cocaine disrupted. The binge crash architecture: what makes cocaine different. Classical building the centurion, the short half-life that built the compulsive pattern. Cocaine has a plasma half-life of approximately 45 to 90 minutes. This short duration is what drives the binge pattern that is more characteristic of cocaine than of any other stimulant. Unlike methamphetamine, half-life 10 to 12 hours, which produces a sustained multi-hour effect, cocaine's effects peak within 15 to 30 minutes and substantially diminish within an hour. The brain's response to this cycle, the dopamine flood that the first line produced, is followed within 45 minutes by a partial withdrawal, a relative dopamine deficit as the flood clears faster than the D2 receptors can recalibrate. The second line is taken not to get high but to prevent the crash. The third line not to get high but to prevent the crash from the second. And so on, through a night that ends not when the person decides to stop but when the supply runs out. This compulsive binge pattern is the pharmacokinetic signature of cocaine, built into the molecule's half-life. Understanding it is not an excuse. It is the explanation for why stopping after just one line is biologically difficult in a way that would not apply to a substance with a longer half-life. The cocaine class, forms, routes, and their differences. What cocaine was providing, the compendium's warrior diagnosis. Classical building the centurion, the aliveness that the baseline brain could not manufacture. The compendium names it with precision. Cocaine produces the experience of aliveness the baseline state does not provide for the warrior COMT brain. This is not a poetic description. It is the pharmacogenomic reality of a brain with fast COMT, val/val, that clears dopamine so rapidly that ordinary life's rewards, achievements, social connection, pleasurable activities, fail to produce the sustained reward signal that the brain is calibrated to require. The warrior brain at baseline feels flat. Not depressed exactly, more like the world is slightly less saturated than it should be. Like the signal of reward is present but muted. Like you are watching your own life from slightly behind glass. Cocaine removes the glass. Everything becomes immediate, vivid, electric. The conversation becomes brilliant. The music becomes the most extraordinary music ever heard. The task becomes the most interesting task imaginable. This is not delusion. This is what adequate dopamine signaling feels like in a brain that has never had enough of it. Understanding this does not make cocaine safe. It makes the recovery architecture clear. The warrior brain needs genuine intensity, genuine aliveness, genuine stimulation, built through means that do not cause cardiac arrest. What did cocaine actually provide? Map every function. Build every replacement. Section 2, Your Genomic Blueprint. Cocaine has the most precisely defined constitutional genomic profile of any substance in this series. The compendium is unambiguous. The warrior COMT, val/val, brain is cocaine's primary genomic target. The genes below define not just vulnerability but recovery strategy with unusual specificity. The DNA testing panel for cocaine recovery. Phenotyping without test results. The compendium's phenotyping tools are particularly precise for cocaine because the warrior profile has a distinctive behavioral fingerprint. Did cocaine make you feel like the most alive, most intelligent, most capable version of yourself, not just high but actually yourself at full power? Strong warrior COMT, val/val, signature. The full power experience is dopamine signaling at the level this brain requires but cannot sustain naturally. Did you use cocaine primarily in social contexts, work events, parties, nights out, and feel it enhanced your social performance? Serotonergic component prominent. SLC6A4 variants may explain particularly strong social effect. Did you find the first line never quite enough, always leading to another? Classic DAT110 repeat plus DRD2A1 deficit. The reward system's threshold was raised by downregulation faster than the cocaine could keep up with. Have you been diagnosed with or suspected of having ADHD? DAT110 repeat plus DRD47 repeat association. Cocaine's DAT blockade is structurally similar to methylphenidates. This may have been self-medication for a genuine ADHD presentation. Does the baseline feel not depressed exactly but flat, like the world should be more interesting than it is? Classic val/val COMT warrior profile. The flat baseline is the constitution reasserting itself without the chemical. It is real. It is biological. It is the design target for the recovery architecture. Section 3, The Detox Protocol. Classical building the centurion. The crash is the signal that recovery has begun. Cocaine withdrawal does not produce the seizure risk of alcohol and benzodiazepines. It does not produce the cardiovascular danger of acute cocaine use. What it produces is the opposite, the profound dopamine floor of a system that has been flooded and is now entirely empty. The compendium names this precisely for stimulants. The system is in low-power mode. Nothing feels good or worth doing. The sonic protocol for stimulant withdrawal instructs 60 to 80 bpm, warm textures, major keys but gentle, because forcing high-energy input into a depleted system produces hollow dissonance rather than activation. Cocaine withdrawal is not medically dangerous. It is psychologically brutal. And the psychological brutality is directly proportional to how much the cocaine was filling a genuine neurobiological need. The withdrawal timeline. Pause in cocaine recovery. Warning: cocaine pause is characterized by sudden, intense craving often triggered by specific cues, sounds, smells, places, people. This is cue reactivity and it is powerful. Have the interrupt protocol ready before it arrives. Post-acute withdrawal syndrome in cocaine recovery is dominated by cue-triggered craving, one of the most powerful cue reactivity profiles in addiction medicine. The dopamine system was trained to respond to cocaine-associated cues with intense anticipatory firing. Months into recovery, a specific song, a specific social context, the smell of a specific environment can produce a craving state that feels indistinguishable from early withdrawal. This is not relapse. It is the conditioned dopamine circuit firing from its training, not from current use. The response is the interrupt protocol in Section 5, executed immediately and without negotiation. Section 4, Biological Reconstruction. Cocaine recovery requires reconstruction of three systems simultaneously: dopamine, the reward and motivation substrate; serotonin, the social warmth and mood baseline; and norepinephrine, the energy and alertness system. The triple reuptake inhibition that cocaine deployed is met with a triple reconstruction strategy. The methylation foundation underlies all three. Medical recovery from physical complications, cardiac, nasal, infectious, runs alongside the neurological reconstruction. 4.1 The methylation foundation. The triple monoamine depletion from chronic cocaine use is compounded by MTHFR variant methylation impairment where present. Without adequate methylated folate and B12, the synthesis pathways for dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine cannot operate at full capacity regardless of what precursors are provided. 4.2 Dopamine reconstruction. Classical building the centurion, the warrior brain's primary target, rebuilding the signal that was never enough. Dopamine reconstruction is the central biological project of cocaine recovery. The warrior brain that cleared dopamine too fast before cocaine cleared it even faster during recovery, a double deficit that requires a deliberate, multi-pronged reconstruction strategy. 4.3 Serotonin reconstruction. Classical building the centurion, the social warmth that cocaine was generating, build it back. Unlike the methamphetamine guide where serotonin reconstruction is a secondary target, in cocaine recovery it is co-primary. Cocaine's cert blockade was providing social confidence, emotional warmth, and interpersonal ease that becomes conspicuously absent in recovery. The social withdrawal and interpersonal flatness of early cocaine recovery is substantially serotonergic. 4.4 The ADHD question. Classical building the centurion, the most common unaddressed driver of cocaine use disorder. Cocaine is a reuptake inhibitor with structural pharmacological similarity to methylphenidate, Ritalin. The same DAT blockade that makes cocaine euphoric in people without ADHD produces genuine cognitive normalization and focus in people with ADHD. Cocaine has been a primary ADHD self-medication pathway for decades, and the ADHD typically remains undiagnosed through years of cocaine use because "I can focus when I use it" is not a symptom presentation that gets referred to psychiatry. DAT110 repeat and DRD47 repeat variants, both associated with cocaine vulnerability, are also among the strongest genetic markers for ADHD. The overlap is not coincidental. If you use cocaine primarily for focus, productivity, or cognitive performance rather than euphoria, and if you struggle significantly with attention, organization, and task completion when not using, ADHD evaluation is a clinical priority in your recovery. Non-stimulant ADHD treatments, Strattera/atomoxetine, Wellbutrin/bupropion, Intuniv/guanfacine, can address the ADHD without the addiction liability of stimulants in this context. Discuss with an addiction medicine psychiatrist. 4.5. Physical recovery, nasal, cardiovascular, and infectious. Classical building the centurion, the body that was damaged alongside the brain. Nasal damage, intranasal users' chronic cocaine insufflation causes nasal mucosal atrophy, septum perforation, and in severe cases, palate erosion. ENT evaluation is appropriate for anyone with chronic intranasal use. Saline nasal irrigation, Neilmed or neti pot, daily supports mucosal recovery. Vitamin C and zinc support tissue healing. Full recovery is possible in mild-moderate cases with cessation. Structural damage, perforation, may require surgical intervention. Cardiovascular assessment, anyone with significant cocaine use history should have a cardiac evaluation, ECG for arrhythmia or evidence of prior ischemia, blood pressure monitoring, echocardiogram if there are any symptoms or significant use history. Cocaine cardiomyopathy, enlarged, weakened heart from chronic sympathetic overactivation, is documented with heavy chronic use and requires cardiology evaluation. Infectious disease, for cocaine users, HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis B testing. Infective endocarditis evaluation if any fever, heart murmur, or systemic symptoms. STI testing if cocaine use occurred in sexual contexts, cocaine and sexual disinhibition are strongly associated. Levamisole monitoring, CBC, complete blood count, at baseline of recovery. If symptoms of agranulocytosis develop, fever, mouth sores, susceptibility to infection, emergency evaluation. Repeat CBC at 1 and 3 months. 4.6. Sleep reconstruction. Cocaine and sleep have a specific relationship. Cocaine causes significant insomnia during use. High norepinephrine activation prevents sleep, followed by hypersomnia during crash, the exhausted system demanding repair time. Chronic binge crash cycles produce severe circadian disruption that persists for weeks into recovery. Melatonin, 0.5 to 1 mg sublingual, 30 to 60 minutes before target sleep time. The circadian clock has been repeatedly disrupted by binge crash cycles. Melatonin at the correct timing helps reset it. Magnesium glycinate, 400 mg elemental evening. Addresses both sleep and the anxiety component of early cocaine withdrawal. Glycine, 3,5-G, 30 minutes before bed. Core body temperature reduction and NMDA coagonism supporting sleep architecture. 5-HTP, 50 to 100 mg evening. Serotonin reconstruction supports sleep onset and REM architecture. Tart cherry extract, 480 mg evening. Natural melatonin source, anti-inflammatory. L-theanine, 200 mg evening. Reduces the cognitive hyperactivity that persists in early cocaine recovery and prevents sleep onset. The compendium stimulant withdrawal sonic protocol for sleep, delta binaural beats, 0.5 to 4 Hz, for sleep induction, 60 to 70 BPM maximum, ambient, drone, nature sounds. No sudden dynamics, no jarring transitions. Low volume. The hypersensitive post-cocaine nervous system is destabilized by stimulating audio. 4.7. Peptide support layer. Section 5. The cocaine craving, understanding and interrupting. Classical building the centurion, the fastest, most curiactive craving in the stimulant category. Cocaine cravings are among the most intense and most curiactive in addiction medicine. The dopamine anticipatory signal that cocaine trained the brain to produce in response to cocaine-associated cues is extraordinary in its power and speed. Within milliseconds of encountering a relevant cue, a specific sound, the sight of white powder, a social context associated with use, a specific smell, the dopamine anticipation circuit fires at near maximal intensity. This is not a thinking process. It is a precognitive neurological event. The brain has produced the anticipatory dopamine signal before the prefrontal cortex has had time to evaluate it. This is why the "just don't think about it" approach fails for cocaine. The craving is not initiated by thinking. The thinking comes after. The interrupt protocol must therefore be behavioral before it is cognitive. The action comes before the analysis. Cocaine Craving Trigger Map. The Cocaine Craving Interrupt, 5-minute protocol. Behavioral response first. Before anything else, if a cue is present, leave the environment. If not, change your physical position immediately. Stand up. Walk to a different room. Go outside. Do not execute any other step while remaining in the triggering environment. High-intensity physical interrupt. 20 jumping jacks, a sprint around the block, cold water on the face, or anything that creates an immediate, intense physical sensation. The warrior constitution's craving fires at high voltage. It requires a high-intensity countersignal, not a gentle one. This is not optional softness. It is neurobiological calibration. Execute 4-7-8 breathing, 6 cycles. After the physical interrupt, the parasympathetic system needs activating. The warrior brain that just experienced a maximum intensity dopamine anticipation signal needs the vagal brake engaged. 6 cycles, not 4. Take NAC and tyrosine. The glutamate homeostasis, NAC, and dopamine precursor, tyrosine, together address the neurochemical urgency underlying the craving. These are not placebos, they are the raw materials for the reward signal the craving is demanding, provided through the synthesis pathway rather than the reuptake inhibition pathway. Contact. 1 text or call to your support structure. The dopamine anticipation circuit was trained in social contexts. Cocaine was the social drug. Connection provides a genuine social dopamine signal that partially addresses the circuit's demand. Name what is happening. You do not need rescue. You need signal. Execute the highest intensity natural reward available. From Section 6. Whatever is immediately accessible and genuinely intense. A flat, mild activity will not meet the warrior craving's threshold. It must be real intensity. Document. Trigger, type, intensity, 0 to 10, action, outcome. 3 weeks of this data reveals your specific craving architecture with a precision that changes your relationship to the cravings themselves. Section 6, Porting the Addiction, Building the Warrior's Natural High. Classical Building the Centurion, Centurion Paper C28 applied to cocaine recovery, the aliveness the warrior brain requires. The compendium is precise about what the warrior constitution needs and what cocaine was providing. The experience of aliveness the baseline state does not provide. Not calm. Not relief. Not escape. Aliveness. The Olympian of nothing who spent years generating that aliveness through dopamine flooding has exactly the right engine for something extraordinary. The engine that chased cocaine with the intensity it deserves is the same engine that would pursue mastery, competition, service, and achievement with that same intensity, if given the right address. The natural addiction architecture for cocaine recovery is not a gentler life. It is a more genuine life. One calibrated to the actual intensity requirement of this brain. The warrior's natural dopamine architecture. The social confidence architecture, rebuilding without the drug. Classical building the centurion, the serotonergic work that cocaine was doing. The social ease, confidence, and conversational brilliance that cocaine's cert blockade was providing is one of the dimensions of cocaine use that people discuss least and miss most. The sober social baseline, for many people with cocaine use disorder, feels not just worse than on cocaine but actively inadequate. Conversations feel effortful. The natural wit and connection that cocaine produced feels absent. This is real, and it is primarily serotonergic. The serotonin system rebuilds with abstinence and with the supports above. But the behavioral component matters equally. The warrior who has been performing brilliant social engagement while on cocaine has practiced that performance. The skill is real. It just needs practice without the pharmaceutical confidence booster. The architecture. Start smaller, practice authentic social engagement in lower-stakes environments, smaller groups, trusted people, familiar contexts, rather than jumping straight to the high-stakes professional and social events where cocaine was used. Preparation instead of chemicals. The confidence that cocaine provided by flooding the serotonin system can be approximated by thorough preparation, knowing the material, having practiced the conversation, having done the physical exercise that the body needs to feel capable. Prepared warrior beats pharmaceutical warrior over time. Serotonin supplementation, 5-HTP, 50 to 100 mg evening, inositol, and adequate protein. The serotonin reconstruction supplements in section 4.3 provide genuine neurochemical support for the social confidence dimension of recovery. The recovery community as social training ground, 12-step, smart recovery, or any recovery community provides a uniquely understanding social environment where the mask is optional and the connection is genuine. This is the serotonergic community that the cocaine social scene was approximating chemically. Section 7, Navigating the Recovery Kernel, Your Protocol Map. Section 8, The Medical Support Layer. Unlike opioids, benzodiazepines, and alcohol, there is no FDA-approved medication specifically for cocaine use disorder. This is a genuine treatment gap. Cocaine use disorder causes significant morbidity and mortality, and the absence of effective pharmacological treatment is one of the most significant failures in addiction medicine. What does exist? Medications with evidence for cocaine use disorder. A final word. Classical building the centurion, the warrior was never looking for escape. It was looking for a fight worth having. The compendium's dedication is for the ones who ran out of time before anyone told them their biology was not their weakness. In the warrior constitution, the ones who ran out of time were often the most alive people in the room, the most energetic, the most driven, the most intensely present. Cocaine found them because it was calibrated exactly to what they lacked and what they needed. What they lacked was not character. It was baseline dopamine signal adequate to sustain the experience of aliveness they were capable of and required. What cocaine provided was the signal. What cocaine cost was everything else. The recovery documented in this guide is not about becoming a calmer, quieter, more moderate person. The warrior does not become a sage in recovery. The intensity does not go away. The need for aliveness does not go away. The dopamine clearance rate does not go away. What goes away is the need to flood the system with a substance that breaks the heart, literally, to get the signal it deserves. The warrior in full recovery, exercising at the edge of capacity, competing in something that matters, creating something that did not exist before, building something that helps the people who are still in it, is not a diminished version of the person who was using cocaine. It is the complete version. The one the cocaine was borrowing against. The fight was always worth having. It just needed the right address. Refer to the Recovery Kernel Complete Centurion Compendium for all referenced protocols. Crisis, call or text 988 Emergency, 911 SAMHSA, 1-800-662-4357. Warning: harm reduction resource, not medical advice. How to recover from cocaine using the Recovery Kernel Substance-Specific Navigation Series.